Hi friends, you may remember me in my last video mentioning that I dropped my main photo shooting camera onto the pavement and it is broken, and that I have been shooting with my iPhone and that I have been enjoying it. Whilst I'll still be shooting with my iPhone frequently, I have a new camera and I'm shooting with it right now. And I also have a new lens. The camera is a Sony a6500 and I'm shooting with a wider lens right now as opposed to my new lens, which is a 24-70 f4. Consistent. Oh, and it's full frame. Me and my wife are actually planning to pick up the new A7 when it comes out, which will be full frame and we'll be able to use it. It's a super sharp lens. It's quite nice. One glorious feature of this camera that I've missed with my point and shoot is that you can change the battery without taking it off of the tripod. So this guy has an EVF on the back, which makes it a viable option for a street shooting camera for me. I've already been on a couple of photo walks with it. I've been having so much fun, my ears are bleeding consistently. I've been told that that has nothing to do with fun and that I should see a physician. But I'm not convinced. I've done quite a bit of street shooting with it already, but first off, me and my wife actually went to a reservoir where she tried out her new foldable kayak, and I took a couple of photos there that I was happy with. One photo I was particularly happy with is one that I took at the spillway of this earth dam that holds back the reservoir. You have this bizarre and mysterious looking rectangular waterfall. There's a lot of mystery. Where does it go? What does it do? How far down does it fall? And then you have this orange, what I like to call natural selection barrier, which keeps people from falling into this hole, and then you have these two people just hanging out on the edge of that barrier. Surely they would have fallen in if that natural selection barrier was not present. This is a really exciting composition to me. I love that it would be a normal lake scene if it wasn't for this bizarre waterfall on the left-hand side. I love the colors of the boats. Of course, I love the presence of the people, and I love that they're wearing identical hats. I also got a nice shot of my wife in her kayak. Expression is really important here. Where the paddle is, what her face is doing, which way she's pointing. I love the presence of this little twiggy tree in the foreground on the left-hand side. It provides a sense of depth. I love how it just comes up to the top of the mountain in the background. I like all the geometry of the landscape in the background. You have the people on the beach and the umbrellas and such, and the light, particularly on the water in the foreground in the boat, is quite nice. I also played around with composing this huge mountain in the background with someone in the foreground floating on the water, and got a couple of different shots of that. I've already gone on a few quite enjoyable downtown photo walks with this camera, just figuring it out, figuring out what settings need to be where, what I need to pay attention to. One thing I love about the EVF in this camera is, as opposed to my optical viewfinder in my old camera, is you can actually see what the exposure is going to be on the end result image. Meaning, when I turn the shutter speed on the back, if I'm in manual mode, when I turn the shutter speed and expose up or down, you can actually see that change happen in real time. Before, I could see the little exposure compensation meter go back and forth to see if I was over or underexposed, but here the image actually brightens up or darkens in front of your very eyes. But I've been deeply enjoying getting to know this camera as my new street shooter. On one of these photo walks, I ventured into a new part of downtown and came across a pretty spectacular wall mural piece. There were all sorts of animals and mythical creatures. It was a thoughtful explosion of color. It's like a normal everyday acid trip that doesn't turn the dark way. So I found a nice spot where I could stack elements from foreground to background. The foreground elements were pretty shadowy, which allowed me to focus in on the wall in the background and whoever would be walking in front of the wall, which was much brighter. I was particularly focused on allowing there to be enough space between the lamppost and the stop sign for somebody to be able to walk through and they have proper separation. I also wanted to make sure the rhino head was prominent in the frame. At one point I was riding an escalator and there was a guy and a girl, and she had her arm around him, and there was a streak of light in the midst of this shadowy scene, and I very quickly raised the camera up to my eye and snapped this photo. A lot of the photos I take, like the previous one, are patiently thought out. I frame up the scene and wait for somebody to complete it. In this case, I had to be ready for this moment to come about. This was a very spontaneous and fleeting moment, and these are happening around us all the time. There are a lot of street photographers that do such a wonderful job at being ready for beautiful spontaneity in the midst of what many see as mundane everyday life. And that's one thing I love on a fundamental level about street photography. It's an expression of the observer, of a person who has their brain and their eyes tuned to capturing moments that have meaning that would often go missed. I went up to the Utah State Capitol building, and this is one of my favorite places to shoot. Beautiful architecture, ridiculous light. There are these opaque windows on the roof that allow this diffused light to come in on either side of the building. I mean, they built this building to be a beautiful centerpiece for Utah. They just don't build them like they used to, you know? So on a daily basis, you will find two types of people wandering around the Utah State Capitol building. One, tourists. A lot of them. Two, people wearing suits who work at the Capitol building. At one point, I was standing on the second floor looking through a beautifully lit archway, and I was waiting for somebody with a suit to walk through. I got a few of those I felt good about, and then I wandered around and captured more photos of people from different angles, many of those people being in suits as well. There was also a statue of a man who seemed to be adoringly gazing at a baguette. I also took a trip to a park that I'd taken you guys to a couple times before, where paragliders like to fly around. There was basically nobody there. There's basically no people here. And when there's no people in a landscape environment, you just have landscape photography. Nobody likes landscape photography. I then made my way up the mountain to a spot where mountain bikers like to ride their bikes with the fierceness of a gazelle on the Serengeti. I wasn't sure if I was going to find anybody up there, but there's a spot where a trail is cut into the side of the hill. Mountain bikers will come up this trail, and in the background, the valley opens up. To my great satisfaction, when I got there, almost immediately somebody came around the bend, and I thought, if there's one, there's many. Now I'm on the side of a mountain, patiently waiting for some cyclists to come around this corner here on this popular trail for cyclists. I'm going to see if I can grab some photos. There's Utah Lake in the distance. I'm sitting on the ground not because I chose to sit here for recreation, but because my foot just slipped on a rock, and now I'm on the ground. I think my leg is broken. There's the bone. Good news, I made a grass tourniquet, and I'm back at it. It stabilized the bone. Didn't stop the bleeding, though. You guys see that? That's it for this one. Like I said, I've been deeply enjoying this new camera, and I've often said that a great option for somebody who wants to get into photography is the little brother of this guy, the A6000, which is, it's older, but that makes it less expensive, and it's still a really solid camera. The price is, hold on, okay Google, how much is the A6000? She must have social anxiety. Whoa, Adorama Camera says that you can get the body for $180. I don't know if that's true. 180 used, body only. You can get it at Best Buy with a kit lens for $649. Really not bad. Yeah, body only you're looking at between $400 and $500, which is a really solid price for a solid camera with an EVF on the back, which is important. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to check out my shop if you want to support what I'm up to. Hope you have a lovely day. Goodbye.